Hi, welcome to this part of my guide and review featuring the Mythic Game Master Emulator, 2nd edition. If you haven't seen the other parts of my guide and review, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about interrupt scenes and playing out the scene. While altered scenes play off your expectations, interrupt scenes ignore them entirely. Anything can happen. If your expected scene becomes an interrupt scene, then Mythic derails your expectations to send the narrative in a new and unforeseen direction. You generate an interrupt scene the same way you generate a random event. Roll for the event focus and event meaning, then interpret the results in context. Expected scenes flow together organically. They start as you expect them to and follow the trajectory of the player character's actions. If your character chooses to enter a room and search it, that's the basis for an expected scene. If your character then leaves the room and explores the dungeon further, that's another expected scene. Altered scenes are close enough to your expected scene that they, too, tend to flow together organically. Maybe your character finishes ransacking a room and leaves to explore the dungeon further, and you get an altered scene that you interpret as a monster in the hall. Interrupt scenes disturb that flow of events, so it may not be immediately obvious how it connects to your previous scene. Keep in mind that this event is interrupting the expected transition from one scene to the next. If you take into account how the previous scene ended, and what the player character is currently trying to do, you should be able to interpret this new scene in a way that fits the current context. Let's talk about playing out the scene. Once you have the concept for your scene ironed out, whether it's the first scene, expected, altered, or interrupted, it's time to get into the scene and do some role-playing. Now the action of your adventures can take place, with fate questions there to tell you anything you need to know as you play. Mythic's framework, using fate questions to gather information and a scene's structure to contain the action, is all about building the narrative details of your adventure. If you are using Mythic with another role-playing game, then Mythic will act as the game master by answering your questions while you use the rules of your chosen RPG to handle the situations they cover, such as combat and skill resolution. It's important to know that there's a lot of overlap between what you can frame as a fate question and what can be resolved with your chosen RPG. How you choose to handle these uncertainties is up to you, but Mythic gives you the tools to ask fate questions at any time. You can even use them to replace certain rules in your RPG, as covered in the Fate Questions chapter. And this concludes this part of the guide and review. In the next part we are going to talk about twists and turns, as well as beginning and ending scenes. Mythic oftentimes develops in a fine dance of setting up a framework through your questions, working within that framework, and working with the interruptions during the scenes. Thank you for watching this part of the guide and review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.